So we are here to talk about the second article to the Constitution. So Article 2 is about the executive branch. Which consists, of course, of the presidency and the vice presidency. And their job is to carry out the laws or enforce them. Now, of course, the president or the executive branch is made up of, let's not do that, it is made up of the president and the vice president. So the president, the qualifications to become president are exactly the same for the president and the vice president. So the qualifications to become president, the qualifications to become the vice president are exactly the same. For citizenship, you have to be born in the USA. Your age, you have to be 35 years or older. Your residency, you have to have a residency of 14 years or more. And your term is 4 years. Now you can serve 2 consecutive terms for a total of 8 years. The only way you could actually serve more time is if you happen to have been the vice president and you were, something happened to the president and you became president. So for example, when John F. Kennedy was assassinated, Lyndon Baines Johnson became president of the United States the second year into John F. Kennedy's term. So when Richard Nixon stepped down, Gerald Ford ended up taking his spot. So you could actually, in all honesty, serve a total of 10 consecutive years as the president, but usually it ends up being 4 or 8. So what can the president and vice president do? Well, the president can do a lot, as you may have guessed. So the president has a lot of responsibilities. He can make treaties, he or she can make treaties. Now they have to be ratified by the Senate. So he can make them, but he can't enforce them until the Senate agrees to them. He nominates ambassadors, Supreme Court justices, and these have to also be approved by the Senate, ratified by the Senate. He also has 5 chief titles. So the chief titles for the president are Commander-in-Chief, this is regarding our military. He is Chief of State, and this is about our foreign affairs. He is Chief Executive, so he makes sure the cabinet's doing their job. He is the chief legislator. This means he's the head lawyer. And then his last title is chief of party. And that means he's the head of his or her party, as in whether or not Democrat or Republican. So those are the things that the president can do. We're going to go into his titles and the cabinets in just a minute. The powers and responsibility of the vice president work like this. Basically, the VP takes over if something happens to the president. Is president of the Senate. And attends cabinet meetings. That's what the vice president does. So here are the cabinets that are up here. You'll notice it says secretary, 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 except for the attorney general. Secretary is a term that is used who is the head of each cabinet. And each one of these cabinets is responsible for something. And you're not going to have room on your paper, again, for this information either. So you're going to either want to put this on the back, or you're going to want to staple this in your ISN and put it underneath your ISN. So it all depends on what you want to do. It's going to work on the pen thickness, but I guess that's not going to happen. Okay, so Secretary of State. This is foreign affairs. Our relationships with other countries. Secretary of Treasury is all about money. Secretary of Defense, of course, is about the military. Attorney General, he is the head of the Justice Department. The Secretary of the Interior, actually this is National Parks. Secretary of Agriculture, of course, this is farming. Secretary of Commerce, this has to do with business and industry. Secretary of Labor, this has to do with workplace laws. Secretary of Health and Human Services, this is regarding your health, basically. You know, when there's like an outbreak of a particular type of flu, they're in charge of making sure vaccines get out to all doctors so that people don't end up, dying. This is primarily about city housing, urban development. Transportation, of course, highways, buses, and trains. Secretary of Energy. This actually has to do with the production, the making of energy, and disposal. Believe it or not, oh, good Lord, OSAL. Secretary of Education, School. Veteran Affairs, just exactly what it says. It's about benefits for our veterans. And the last one, Homeland Security, of course, that has to do with civilian safety. Mostly it's at airports because of 9/11. This was the department that was put together after 9/11. So that is the executive